hope y'all are doing great. So, I tried to do one of these Instagram stories a couple of days ago and it didn't go very well. But I wanted to hop on here. I just did a podcast. So if you are watching the Her Sole Purpose show on the WOW Network, then you've probably already caught a little bit of the series that I'm doing on the 5 stages of grief and pregnancy loss. And my podcast isn't quite yet caught up with the show. So I just did a segment on the stage of denial and thought I would put some steps on here on my IGTV for you guys, for you to maybe help you if you are going through pregnancy loss and possibly find yourself in this stage of denial. So feel free to catch the podcast. I don't know when it will publish. It sometimes takes a couple of days to get sent out to all of the different podcast platforms. So it should be up on Anchor, I would say, by the end of this day. A lot of times iTunes picks it up the same day or the next day also. So feel free to look for it, and it's Her Sole Purpose Show, or you can probably even search my name. So I'm going to give you some steps that I went through on the podcast. Now, the podcast, I go a little bit more in depth with some things, but for IGTV, I thought I don't want to, take too much of your time, because I know that you're probably scrolling or, wanting to check out other videos. So I don't want to take too much of your time. But if you are experiencing pregnancy loss, I understand the need to want some possible things to help me get through something. So here are some of the steps that helped me and some of the women that I've coached along their grief journey. So be honest with yourself and others. So first of all, let me explain what denial can look like really quick. Again, I go in a little bit more depth on the podcast, but pregnancy loss, denial and pregnancy loss grief can look like not wanting to believe that the miscarriage has happened or it's happening. It can look like still talking about the baby as if the baby's still growing inside of you. It can just be this state of not wanting to believe what happened. Oftentimes, you'll hear people say, I can't believe this is happening, and it's true. It's really a mechanism that our mind and our heart will use to almost protect us from that shock and that heartbreak of losing somebody. And so it is a real thing, and it serves as a purpose of protecting. Our heart is naturally protecting us from that initial pain and thought of really losing somebody close to us. And so that's a little bit about what denial can look like for people. First step is be honest with yourself and others. Talk about your feelings, especially with your spouse. Keep those lines of communication open. Second is speak it out and don't be ashamed of it. So when I say be honest with yourself and others, that's talking it out. But that's really just making sure that you're being honest and self-aware of where you are and really how you're feeling. And then speaking it out and not being ashamed of it is a different step, because they're two different things, really. I mean, they go hand in hand, but in order to speak it out, to not be ashamed of it, you have to be able to be honest with yourself and with other people, so that way you can speak it out. So I hope that makes sense. Third thing is to journal. Journal about what you're going through, about the things that you're experiencing, the feelings that you're feeling. Just journal it all out, get it out. Journaling can be so therapeutic. It can be a brain dump, or it can just be a creative outlet for you to just write what you're feeling down. Women that I've coached will often write poetry as their journal, and so just journaling is yours. It's however it helps you to get through this. Some people draw, some people write poetry, some people write short stories, and then some people just write. Like I personally write letters to myself, or if I'm needing to vent something out, I might write a letter to that person. So journaling is yours. It's how you want to do it. So the next thing is write a letter to God. And when you write this letter to God, be raw with how you're feeling. Make sure that you're being very honest. He can take it. He already knows what you're feeling. So be really raw and honest with him. Writing a letter to God is only going to serve a good purpose if you're completely honest with him. And going back to the first step, you have to learn how to be honest with yourself. And that really helps you with all of these other things and all of these other tips that I give you. If you're able to be honest with yourself, you are able to really let some of these raw emotions out. The next step is write a letter to your baby. This helped me so much. When I wrote my letter to my baby, it really helped me to really solidify that relationship that I had with him. And it helped me to let him go, to understand that this really did happen. It kind of scooted me out of that stage of denial that I was in, because I was facing it head on. I was saying goodbye to my baby. I was telling him how much I loved him. And so it really served a good purpose of helping me to understand what had happened, helping me to cope with it better, and again, it solidified that relationship I had with him and that love I had for him. And I was able to tell him how much I loved him and how thankful I was for him and for the short time that I got to be a part of his life. And so, just really solidified that love between my baby and I. And so writing a letter can be really huge. And again, it can help scoot you a little bit out of that stage of denial. So again, be honest with yourself and with others. Speak it out and don't be ashamed. Journal, write a letter to God, and last and certainly not least, write a letter to your baby. So I hope that helps you. If you want more information, feel free to catch the podcast. However you listen to your podcasts, it goes out to mostly all of the platforms. Catch the Her Soul Purpose Show. You can catch that on my Facebook page or the WOW Network. You can also check out my YouTube. I try to keep everything on all the same platforms, because I know some people don't necessarily listen to podcasts, but they might catch Facebook and vice versa. So anyway, I hope that helps you, and please feel free to message me if you have any questions, or if you'd like to talk about what you're going through. I'm here for you, friend. Bye.